Hey guys, it's Brian, and this is Brian Destroys Everything. Today, like I said, I'm going to get in the title. I'm going to get a little philosophical. I'm going to start by saying that part of what I'm trying to do here is to get you to think about where you're at um, with regards to government, especially. Now, I'm going to admit something here that's going to sound weird, but if you look at the definition of it, it's not as weird as you think. Um, I'm an anarchist. Now, what that means for most people who have heard negative things about anarchists is this: I believe in no government. I believe that people can live by their own rule, by commonly accepted rules, without anyone to determine anything for them outside of those rules. Now, we have gotten into a habit where um, if you have, if we have gotten into a habit of just accepting authority without, and more importantly, accepting authority and giving that authority to someone we don't know um, without understanding a lot of the consequences. I get why people would do that. A, it removes responsibility from you when shit goes wrong. And I get that. But when it, um, when we do that, we lose anywhere from a little bit to a lot of um, our freedoms to do the stuff we need to be able to do in order to provide for ourselves and our families. And so when we um, when we accept authority from someone else, we kind of change our trajectory. Now, I'm all for someone being authoritative if they have my best interests at heart, which 99% of those people do not. Um, I am all for someone being in authority if they make decisions that are beneficial for everyone, even if they're detrimental to me, um, as long as they're fair. And in both those cases, it's not the case. You know, 25 years ago, I went to see some indie movie in St. Louis, and I was in a conversation with a couple college kids. At the time, I wasn't, but we were pretty um, we were pretty close anyway. And the subject came up: what do you want to see before you die? And my first statement was, I want to see I want to see the next great president. We haven't really had one since JFK, which was before I was born. I'd like to see the next great president. And it's been downhill from that. And when it came, and at that time, I was in a different place with where I thought about things. And so now I don't want to see a great president because I don't believe we'll have one. They're too constrained um, by what power they've given to other people, and because of that, it they can't be great because they're constrained by the impression they'll give to the people who put them in office. Now, if we had a president who took no corporate donations, who took no donations from wealthy people, who had no people uh, mobilize super PACs for them, which is a political action committee, and the famous Citizens United Supreme Court decision has made it so political action committees have no limits to benefit a politician the same way a individual, which a lot of people think is BS, and to be honest, it is. But when they made that decision, it's, you know, we really kind of have to abide by this, because we don't have the mechanism to change as normal people. So I really don't want to see a great president, because, to be honest, the way he'll lean is like the way Donald Trump has. Even though Donald Trump is beholden to his own set of I won't say puppeteers, but he's beholden to his own set of donors and people who have contributed to his campaign. It'll end bad. And as a people, our nation doesn't have that kind of will to change things as it's needed. And that is, and when it comes down to it, that is revolution. We don't have that will. Even if we had the will, we would have to really consider the absolute consequences of what that would entail. And most people wouldn't have that kind of stomach to execute that particular plan, because it would require changes we aren't willing to accept. And that's what it comes down to. You have the changes we go through have to be acceptable to everyone involved. And they won't be. There's absolutely no way. Last year, I'll give you an example. Last year, I had a conversation with one of my regulars, and I pointed out to her that we're at the point where we have a political divide in our country. Now, I believe that you can be a strong people with even disparate or diverse or disparate views, as long as everyone understands the rules and follows them. But where we're at is that we have people who refuse to follow the rules and are trying to remove the ability for you to do something. Now, it won't be you necessarily. I mean, if you're a white guy, most of these folks that are trying to take those rights away will benefit you, because you're the chosen type of person whose rights will be affected least. But when it comes to that, when it comes to where we are as a people, if you look the other way, if you don't speak up about it, if you don't choose to act, it won't matter what you look like or who you are, because once these things have been stripped away from the people who aren't chosen, then they'll find something else. And it hasn't been a slow process. I'll speak about abortion. Since Roe versus Wade was allowed in 1972. There have been hundreds of laws by various states trying to restrict access to abortion. Now, I won't get into what I believe, except to say that it doesn't matter what I believe because it's not my body to make that choice. But that being said, other people are trying to restrict that choice because they don't have your life. They don't look at your life through the way you, through your eyes. They don't take the time to walk a mile in your shoes. And they might even think that they're trying to help you by trying to prevent you from having an abortion. And while I believe, personally, I don't believe in the restriction of choice, I do believe there are reasonable, very reasonable reason or ways to ensure a woman's health without restricting her choice. And so, but I'm not going to go into it. But even still, there should be no reason whatsoever you should be prevented of having that, by having that choice. None. And yet here we are in 2020 where women's rights, minority rights are being trampled on, and nothing is being realistically done to correct it. Now, I have always said, and I really haven't talked about this with anyone who might be watching this, I have always said Congress does nothing. Congress, the last law worth anything that Congress passed was the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Everything else has been reactive. It has been short-sighted. And you can look, here's a good example. You can look at the Patriot Act. And what I said earlier in the video, I could have been arrested for under the Patriot Act because I don't believe that the United States is the end all be all of all government. And when we have a law like that where I can be detained for an unlimited amount of time for an opinion I have that isn't the same as the opinion of everyone else, there's an issue. You know, we have everything is we've. I could go over the list of things we're being divided on: immigration, defunding the police. It's tough. That's a tough thing. I don't believe we should defund the police, but we should have monumental police reform. And when I say that, I mean cops shouldn't have to respond to nonviolent acts for any reason. I think, but that leads to a slippery slope where we run into the issue of having a police state again. I did kind of discuss this in one of my first videos that wasn't live. When I was selling papers, I would walk from the Embarcadero or ride BART or Muni, and I could feasibly have been detained by no fewer than 4 different police departments. Now, I generally follow the rules, so the cops don't really mess with me. I don't yell at people for random stuff unless they try to kill me. And in general, I don't even do that. I just walk away. And so the problem with there's the same problem with police reform is the same as you know, the one that's causing us to kind of slide down that slippery slope, where almost everything is illegal. I watched a video on YouTube a couple days ago. It was about this lawyer who was a professor at a university in Virginia, and he unequivocally stated that as a defense lawyer, he would say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you want to say. Don't say anything to the cops. And he pointed out that besides the fact that even if you're innocent, you can still be charged with another crime, simply because there's over 10,000 different statutes on the books, and that's federal statutes, not even local statutes, that you could be arrested for. So you might be innocent of what they're trying to convict you of, but you also could be committing a crime by saying something that you shouldn't be saying. And so here we are. I mean, I'm not going to get further into that. But this is what I want to say. To really understand what freedom is, you have to reject everything. Now, that sounds out there. It is. The reason is simple. Without stripping yourself down and analyzing everything you do and why you do it, you will never understand your actual freedoms of choice in what you have. Now, you don't have to go as apeshit as I did when I did it, and I did it at a very young age, and basically pretty much restrict anyone who does stuff that I don't like from my life. But knowing where you're at in every relationship you have, knowing where you're at in your relationship with the people who have authority over you, knowing where you're at in the way you treat yourself even, really kind of opens your eyes and allows you to make your choices without any questions about where you're at. And I'm going to end the video on that. Have a great night, and I hope you guys get to watch it later.